SharePoint uses features, and you can develop features. You can use those to define and activate individual site elements, and you can combine a lot of different feature elements to create really complex functionality inside of SharePoint. Now, prior to SharePoint 2010, one of the things that you couldn't do was you could not provision a site using features. You had to use site definitions. Starting with SharePoint 2010, Microsoft added the web template feature element, which I'll be covering later in this chapter. Basically, it's an alternative to using traditional site definitions. So, that being said, site definitions are not features. They're basically just a bunch of files. So, the core site definition file is global, which gets executed every single time you provision a site using any site definition. The global site definition is always executed, and then whatever one you chose after that. So it could be team site, it could be whatever, publishing site if you have SharePoint Enterprise. And these are global to the farm, meaning these live in the 15 Hive. And so where they live is they have root files. They live in the 15 Hive under template, and then LCID, that's the language identifier. So 1033 is for US English, and then there's an XML folder. So in there you would see a webtemp.xml file, and then the same thing for the site templates. You would see whatever the site name is, and then XML folder again, and that would be the ownit.xml file that lives there. So the global site definition, let me just back up here. Notice how the templates are supposed to live in 15 site templates, and then site XML, or 15 template XML. Well, the global site definition lives in the template folder under global. And then in there it contains all the default master pages, any core lists and libraries. So I'm thinking some of the core lists would be like the custom list, or the like announcements list, or actually that wouldn't be there, that would be with the team sites, but the basic document library, the basic custom list. And also it's going to contain any solutions, list templates, web parts, so the master pages. So in this case, Seattle.master or Oslo.master, some of the out-of-the-box web parts would be listed there. And there's more. So what we're going to look at now is we're going to examine the global site definition. In this demo, I'm on the SharePoint machine now, and I'm going to go ahead and explore the global site definition. So I'm opening up the 15 Hive, and I'm going to template and then global. And so you can see here, these are all the actual master page files, the out-of-the-box master page files that get provisioned. So here's the ones that you've seen in previous modules: Oslo and Seattle, default master, minimal master. And then there's also the two subdirectories. There's the XML and lists. So I'm going to open up XML, and I'm going to open up the ownit.xml. And I'm going to start grouping these. I'm going to minimize these a little bit here. There's sections are for list templates. So these are all the list templates that get provisioned when any site is provisioned. And what it does is it associates the schemas for each of the core lists and libraries, so it can actually specify the actual instances in the configuration elements lists. So if you were building your own, you could include your own list template in your own, if you were building a custom site definition. Now let's look at the base types. So let's minimize these. So you can see we have defined the generic list, so that's the basic custom list, document library, and so here in document library you'll see the fields, same thing as in generic list. This field type counter name ID, so that's the basic ID field that every single list in SharePoint has, and this is where it's defined right here in this onow.xml file for the global template, the global site definition, I should say. Next, let's look at the configurations, and notice how the default configuration is set to use the Seattle.master page. So the master URL is set for Seattle.master, and you can see here are the different lists, and in fact this one, these are the this is actual data that gets provisioned for the design gallery. And then if we go down a little bit further, we can see more data for design gallery. So let's go ahead and minimize that. Let's go down to modules. In modules, notice how this attribute name or attribute value for the name attribute default master page, that corresponds to the name used in the default configuration. So this module is actually placing all those master page files that we actually saw before into the master page gallery that the configuration element created. So configuration has to create the design gallery library first, and now with this module we're going to go ahead and so the name of this module is default master page, and then this is where we actually provision the file. So here's v4.master, Seattle.master, Oslo.master, and then their associated preview files. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to exit out of here. I'm going to open up Central Admin. I'm going to go to Monitoring and configure diagnostic logging. Now I've already made this configuration here. I went into SharePoint Foundation and I went ahead and set database logging level to be monitorable, and then I want verbose for general. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a team site and use the we're going to create a site collection where we'll use the team site definition, and then once we've done that, we'll wait, and then we'll look at the log file, and we'll look at some of the entries in the log file that shows how the site's getting created. So let me go ahead and go to App Management, and we'll create a site collection. I'm going to call this one easy to remember. Tim Test, okay. That's going to be the name of our site collection. That's our URL, and that's important because we'll look for that in the log file. Okay, that should be good. Go ahead and get that process started. Close out of here. Actually, let me go back to the desktop. So in the 15 Hive, our logs folders here, I have this set to be sorted in descending order. So you can see how this jumped to the front because you can see the size is actually increasing right now. That means it's logging a whole bunch of stuff right now as that site's being created. And let's see where it's at. Okay, so it's pretty close to being done. Okay, what I'm going to do then is just go ahead and open this, even though it's not all the way done yet. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show. Notice how it's logging this already. Creating sites tim test. So you can see it's creating it in the content database WSS_content. It's creating the top level site, looking it up in the farm SharePoint_config database. And it's creating the URL here. And notice how the feature is being activated for fields, and that's from the global site definition. So that feature is activated for sites tim test. And then C types, that stands for content types. So those are all the content types that are defined in the global site definition. And let's see if I can find another. Let's see if we can see anything else in here. Okay, C types again. Okay, so this is interesting. So this is here, it's creating the solution gallery list, and that's for our new site collection tim test. It's showing that no document templates are uploading. Let's see. Anything else that's being added here? You can see basically it's doing, so here it's adding the this looks like master page gallery right here. So that just, it says done processing views and forms, and so then it added the out of the box display form, edit form, upload form. Okay, so the main thing to take away from this is that I created a team site, but when I created the team site, it's actually executing the everything for the site definition. Now, one thing I do want to look up here. Let's do a see if I can find STS pound 0. STS pound 0 is the ID for a team site. And so, okay, this is good. So now, the important thing to remember here is that everything we just looked at before was for the global site definition, and now the team site is web template. So it's actually applying this web template for team site in our site collection. So the big thing to take away here is that global gets executed first, and then what other templates are required for that, the template that you chose get provisioned, and then your template, that in our case team site template. So that was just a quick look at how site definitions look and how they get provisioned, and so we could see it actually occurring as we create a site collection.